a cordial debate between these two men. I wouldn't describe them as evenly matched because they are so different. So different in style and so different on substance. Very interested to hear from the spin room, to hear from all of my colleagues here, to get to all of the analysis that we're going to get to. I think the big picture takeaway from this is that one of these candidates is much slicker than the other, is a much more practiced, kind of professional debate style speaker, and the other candidate won. There was one bad moment for Tim Walz in this debate where he got mixed up and embarrassed in answering a question about exactly what month he had been in China in relation to the Tiananmen Square protest. But then on guns, on January 6th, on Obamacare, on the economy, on blaming everything on the border, back again on health care, on abortion, on every issue on substance, J.D. Vance was very polished and very slick, and Tim Walz beat him on all the substantive points. At least that was my take on it. I do think that there was one very blunt, very easily disprovable lie on a very important issue that is going to be real trouble for J.D. Vance coming out of this, which was him saying, "I never supported a national ban on abortion." J.D. Vance is bluntly on the record and on tape saying, "I want abortion to be illegal nationwide." His actual quote was, "I certainly would like abortion to be illegal nationally." Saying "I never supported a national abortion ban," when that's out there, is something you're never going to shake in your campaign, particularly when so much of the country is mobilized on this issue of reproductive rights, the first presidential election after the fall of Roe versus Wade. Nicole.
Oh, why am I always first?
Because you lost short straw.
So I think that J.D. Vance spent the night sort of building an intricate and beautiful fort out of toothpicks. And it was perfect. And at the end, he sneezed on it. The whole thing fell apart, and he had to walk out of that room over the broken toothpicks. I think that God bless the people who watched the whole thing and stayed locked in on it. I checked in with about 20 people all who do this and watch this for a living, and they were kind of in and out of some parts of it. But no matter how you watch this, if you cannot say what happened in 2020, and the only reason you're there is because what actually happened in 2020 is that Donald Trump sent his supporters to hang Mike Pence, just ask them, then you lose. And I think that you know, Governor Walz had a lot of great moments. Tim Walz built that perfect artifice. I mean, J.D. Vance built this perfect artifice. He was speaking as though he were running to be Mitt Romney's vice. I mean, he was, like, he spoke tonight. It was a performance that was kind of amazing and totally disconnected from the person who he's running with, Donald Trump.
But still unable to say that Trump lost the election in 2020.
In that moment,
unable to say it.
In the moment, I think everything that he did for 88 minutes was lost and wiped out by that one inability to tell the truth in front of a huge television audience.
Chris,
that moment was the moment of the night. I mean, it's like, wait, why is he here? Oh, right, the Mike Pence thing, right? So that was the moment of the night. J.D. Vance is very good at this, right? I mean, this is what he's been doing since he was in college and Yale Law. It's like talking to libs and being kind of like, well, I sort of agree with you here, but here's the other part of this. Like, and he did that all perfectly fine. I thought Walz on the substance, particularly on healthcare, was very, very strong on healthcare, on the sort of basic of like the tax cuts and who you're fighting for. Again, these are meat and potato core messages. The two moments that I think kind of broke me a little bit, and I don't know about the median information level of the viewer, the level of gaslighting to say that Donald Trump saved the ACA.
Yes, he saved Obamacare.
Like, really got up on national television. And said that Donald Trump had saved Obamacare.
In a bipartisan way.
In a bipartisan way. And despite the fact trying to repeal it multiple times, and Walz did a very good fact check on that. And then I thought nothing was going to top that, but what topped it was he handed power over peacefully on January 20th. It's like,
said it twice.
Well, yes, when the coup failed and the cops' brains had all been bashed in and there were actual dead bodies and blood on the Capitol, 14 days later, we did manage to actually do it.
And he didn't show up for the transfer of power, by the way. He said it's really rich for Democratic leaders to say Trump is a unique threat to democracy when he peacefully gave over power on January the 20th. And everybody's like, what is that alternate universe in which that happened? I would like to visit. It seems nice and much less violent. Joy.
Yeah. I mean, at that moment when Tim Walz said, you really can't answer that question. You really can't say that Donald Trump lost the election. You can't do that. That was the moment of the night. But I was just going through and catalog. You guys have mentioned some of them. He said there were 25 million undocumented immigrants in the country. It's probably more like 15, 16. He said that he repeatedly lied about Springfield again and did it so insistently that he had to have his mic muted because he kept trying to jump in and continue to lie about these people. He said they were brought in through something called the CBP One app, and that is an app that immigrants can use to come in and get a certain kind of visa. That was launched in 2020 under drumroll, Donald Trump. He says that he never supported a national abortion ban. I have here a printout that is already circulating all over social media. This is from the campaign website of J.D. Vance when he ran for the United States Senate. It is headlined, "End Abortion." He says he's 100% pro-life, believes abortion has turned our society into a place where we see children as an inconvenience, on and on and on. You also gave one of the quotes, "I would certainly like to see abortion illegal nationally." He also said he was sympathetic to the view that a national ban would be necessary to stop women from traveling across states to obtain an abortion. So he's in favor of a sort of fugitive slave act to stop abortion. So he said that as well. He blamed undocumented immigrants for everything from rising house prices, rising food prices, inflation, maybe ghosts and bad weather. I mean, he was blaming undocumented immigrants for every single thing. I think Tim Walz was really skillful in knocking those things down individually because he was speaking as a governor and could speak from his own experience. He did a great job talking about housing costs and how those actually worked. The bipartisan way to save health care was absolutely absurd. He said most of our solar panels are coming from China. It's literally the opposite. Google the Department of Education that says 80% of our solar panels come from, drumroll, the United States. Trump peacefully gave over power on January 20, kind of skipped January 6 when he was trying to overthrow the government. He couldn't answer the question, did Trump lose the election? A smooth lie is still a lie.
Yeah.
J.D. Vance is incredibly smooth, but he said, number one, nothing memorable. There's nothing clippable in what he said. They were just all smooth, bland lies. He got outdone by Tim Walz, who may be awkward. It took him a while to get warmed up, but he won the debate because he actually had substance. He was relatable, and he didn't go in there to slay J.D. Vance. He went in there to show himself, and he showed himself to be bipartisan. He showed himself to be reasonable.
Practical.
He showed himself to be practical. He acted as a governor. And a lot of people are complaining that he didn't knock J.D. Vance out and that he wasn't rhetorically cruel. But that was not his job. It was obvious that his job was to sell Kamala Harris as president. He did that very well. He won the debate.
I wrote a note to myself that he was not on offense against Vance in the first half of the debate. And then he came back after that break, right? After the break, and was like, just destroyed him on health care. And then the January 6th, January 20th thing, I mean, I scratched out my own note. True, he was not on offense against Vance for the first half of the debate, and then he came back and more than made up for it. Lawrence.
You know, he will be remembered for that final exchange about, you know, did Trump lose the election? And he doesn't answer. His technique is to not answer. It makes him, by the way, the very first vice presidential candidate in history who doesn't know who won the last That's his place in this transition.
Where did you see this job listing?
But so
Aren't the Republicans already in office?
It came at the end of a long list of questions that he simply didn't answer. He said words, but didn't answer. For example, the first one he didn't answer. Norah O'Donnell asked him, Donald Trump says climate change is a hoax. Do you agree? That's a one-word answer, yes or no. He didn't answer that. He just kept talking. He was then asked, Margaret Brennan asked him, will you separate parents from children, even if the children are U.S. citizens? No answer. Did not answer that question. Your budget plan, Donald Trump's budget plan, will cost $5 trillion added to the national debt. What's your solution to that? No answer. Will you monitor pregnancy? Got an answer. He said no. Actually said no to that. Finally, there was an answer. He was then asked, where are you going to seize the federal lands to build on? And he gave no answer. Now, That's a really important question. If you're trying to build anything in America, we really want to know where it is. And a lot of people don't want it to be in their backyard.
And then, of course, Walz followed up on that by saying, so when you seize the federal land for the housing, is that also the federal land you're seizing for the drilling?
That was funny.
Are we having people live in the
Gonna do
oil
both?
derricks?
Yeah.
Are they all going to be together?
And
No
do you remember
answer.
No answer. And then we get to the final big no answer, which is going to be on a loop now of, did he lose the election, and the inability to answer that. And so just on that very simple debate concept of here's the question and you answer it, he lost spectacularly on any scorecard when you just give him a 0 for every single one that he didn't answer.
Can I say something about the moderators? Because we
great.
spend a lot of time on it before the debate, and they defied whatever. I mean, they did
great.
They did a great job, and they also used their mic muting powers.
Once, yeah.
And I actually think if you're a woman, that might be the worst moment J.D. Vance had, because he was going to mansplain right over that mute button. He was, and again, I don't pretend to know how everyone will react to this. I think that a lot of women in positions of authority that should command respect just by virtue of that dynamic will see themselves in some dude that disrespected them and talked over. I mean, there was a moment like that with then Vice Presidential in the Harris-Pence debate where she said, "I'm speaking."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was this real belief that what he had to say was more important than the debate rules and the moderators.
And to Joy's point, the substance of that moment was when he was lying about immigrants in Springfield, Ohio again, and Tim Walz had called him out on it, and then he was trying to say, no, I'm not lying. Let me tell you why I'm calling them illegal immigrants, even though they are not illegal immigrants, and let me mansplain the law to you. And the moderators, at that point, not only muted his mic, but said, thank you for explaining the law.
Yeah.
It's not what we're asking you about.
But that's when he also complained about being fact-checked,
Right,
yes.
saying the rules said you cannot
can't fact-check me. Right.
That's one of the things that's in the video that we'll be hearing a lot of. Norah O'Donnell did a fact check that was indirect at the end of the climate change discussion, and the discussion ended, and she just said directly, the overwhelming consensus among scientists is climate change is warming at an unprecedented rate. She just said it, not in a direct confrontation to J.D. Vance. So I saw that and I thought, okay, there's that method. But then when it was a direct fact check to J.D. Vance, he did complain that CBS was violating its own rule about that.